Hi everyone, welcome to English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Elsie.
And we are here on day 3 of our dark tourism article. So this is our final day of it. We've talked about dark tourism and why people do it. Yesterday we talked about a really interesting dark tourist spot. What was it?
Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Chernobyl in Ukraine.
Yeah. So it's a big area. There used to be some towns and stuff around it. Nobody lives there now.
Because they had to leave after the explosion.
Yeah, so the nuclear power plant there exploded. It put radiation all over the area. So now it's way too dangerous to live there. So no humans live there anymore. Some animals still live there because they can't control the animals. But no humans live there. It's a kind of haunting and spooky but interesting place to visit.
Right, and today, are we going to France?
We're not going to France, not quite. We're going to a place that I think is a territory of France, but it is not in Europe. So we're going to learn about this place. It's actually 3 different islands. And so we're going to learn what they were for, why do they have such a dark history, and what do people see there? So let's go ahead and get into the article and find out more.
Reading. Dark tourism. Why people love to visit sad places. Salvation Islands, French Guiana. For those who are looking for dark tourism in South America, the Salvation Islands in French Guiana are worth visiting. The tropical islands are known as Devil's Island, St. Joseph Island, and Royale Island. They have a very dark past indeed. In the mid-19th century, the islands were turned into prisons. Royale Island is where most of the less dangerous prisoners were kept. St. Joseph Island was used to keep the most dangerous criminals. Prisoners on St. Joseph Island were kept isolated from other inmates. Devil's Island was reserved for political prisoners. Here, prisoners were allowed no human contact at all. Thousands of people died on these islands before the prisons were closed in the 1950s. Tourists can now visit 2 of these former prisons by boat. The boats leave the mainland every morning. However, access to Devil's Island is not allowed due to the dangerous sea conditions around it. Royale Island is the largest of the islands, and many of the old buildings can be seen there. There's also the prison director's house, which has been turned into a hotel.
All right, so today, as I said, we're not going to France. We are going to a place called French Guiana. We're going to Salvation Islands, French Guiana.
法国呢有许多位于欧洲以外的领土，那大多是人口稀少的小岛。这边讲到的 French Guiana 就是法属的圭亚那，它就是其中一个位于 South America 南美洲北部的海外领地。那这个地区呢也是欧盟的一个部分，虽然它不在欧洲，那官方货币也是欧元。
So France is one of those countries in Europe that still has territories outside of Europe. And French Guiana is one of them. It's on the northern tip of South America. And they have some islands there, the Salvation Islands. So the article says, for those who are looking for dark tourism in South America, the Salvation Islands in French Guiana are worth visiting.
没错，那今天我们就看到了 language in focus， 也就是 worth 的用法。那 worth 当作形容词使用的时候呢，有值得点点点的意思。那常见的用法如下第一种可以表示价值为多少。be worth 后面加上价值就可以了。像是我们可以说 Please bring a gift worth about $200 to the gift exchange party 代表呢请携带价值约台币200块的礼物到礼物交换派对上。那第二个呢 worth 还可以表示值得做某事 be worth后面加上名词或是 VING 像是 worth a try 那就代表值得一试 worth a look 值得一看Worth it 那就代表某事是值得的。所以课文说 For those who are looking for dark tourism in this place 代表如果你是在寻找南美黑暗观光的人，那这个地方法属圭亚那的萨吕群岛值得造访。
So it's worth visiting these places because they must have something cool about them. The tropical islands are known as Devil's Island, St. Joseph Island, and Royale Island. Okay, so first of all, we learned that they are tropical. Tropical islands, of course, there's lots of tropical islands in the world, and tropical is an adjective that means it's in the part of the world that's really near the equator. The equator is the line in the middle of the world where you have the north part and the south part. It's the line that divides them. So anything that's very close to that is in the tropics or tropical. So that's where, the weather's very warm. It might be, really pleasant to vacation there. There's also a lot of bugs. So an example sentence says, many people like the weather in tropical places, but they don't like the many bugs and diseases there. That's true, I would say. And then we have the second vocabulary word, which is devil. So we have, there's an island called Devil's Island. And a devil is an evil spirit, or the evil spirit. So it could be the most powerful evil spirit in Christian and Jewish and Islamic faith. Basically, he's the king of hell, like the king of the bad place. He's the devil. So I think this island was probably named after the devil. So it's, the worst bad monster. And so maybe this island isn't all that great. So an example sentence, people used to believe that bad dreams were caused by devils sitting on people's chests while they slept.
OK， 所以 Kat 讲到很多单字哦。第一个呢，我们说到的是 tropical， 也就是形容词热带的，接近赤道 equator 的地方。好，我们都会说它是热带地区。那再来就是 devil， 代表就是魔鬼、恶魔。所以课文说呢，这些热带岛屿有什么呢？恶魔岛、圣约瑟夫岛，还有一个是皇家岛。
So we have 3 different islands. One has a bad name, 2 just have sort of normal names, and they have a very dark past indeed. In the mid-19th century, the islands were turned into prisons. Wow, so 3 island prisons. So we're going to learn what a prison is right about now. A prison is a noun that means it's a building where people are kept as a punishment for a crime or while they're waiting to go to court. So if these islands are prisons, not only can people, not get off them, but they're probably kept in buildings on these islands where they're kept in a cell. They can't go around and talk to other people. They're not free. They're in prison, and that makes them prisoners. Prisoners are people who are in prison, usually who've been told that you committed a crime. You have to stay in prison for months, years, your whole life, something like that. So an example sentence, Carter went to prison after it was found that he had stolen lots of money from his company.
Prison 代表的就是监狱啦，那 prisoner 也就是在 prison 字尾加上 er， 那就代表被关在监狱里面的人，也就是囚犯。那再来呢，我们还看到一个 turn A into B 的用法，代表将 A 变成 B。So for example, the witch turned the children into frogs， 代表女巫把小孩子们都变成青蛙。那课文这边说到呢，这些岛屿有一个黑暗的过去，在19世纪中旬，这些岛屿被变成了监狱。课文中用的是被动 ，The islands were turned into prisons.
Yeah, so they weren't all just the same kind of prison either. They each had different jobs. The article says Royale Island is where most of the less dangerous prisoners were kept. St. Joseph Island was used to keep the most dangerous criminals. Ooh. So a criminal here, like I said, a prisoner is a person who's in prison. The criminals are the people who, committed the crime. The people who did the crime. Even before they go to prison, they can be called a criminal if they committed a crime, or if they are shown in court to be guilty of a crime. So an example sentence could be, many criminals live in this part of town, but the police are afraid to come and arrest them.
Criminal 这边当名词用，代表的是罪犯，那它同时也可以当作形容词哦，像是 criminal records 代表你的犯罪记录，所以 criminal 当形容词用，解释为犯罪的。那另外呢 crime 这个字代表的是你犯下的罪行，搭配的动词刚刚 Kat 有提到，我们用 commit a crime 犯下罪行。那课文说呢，皇家岛上面关的大多是比较不危险的囚犯，那圣约瑟夫岛上面关的则是最危险的罪犯。The most dangerous ones.
Yeah, so they have different jobs. Royale Island, they're fine. St. Joseph Island, ooh, don't mess with these people.
What about Devil Island?
We're going to learn about that in a second. But we said prisoners on San Joseph Island were kept isolated from other inmates. And you can tell by what I did with my hands just there, but isolate means to separate from other people. So if you are isolated in prison, you're probably in a very small place. You can't talk to anybody. You can't see anybody or hear anybody. You're all alone. So that's what isolated means. And people have been feeling isolated during COVID lockdowns and stuff like that. It can also mean to feel alone. So who are they isolated from? Inmates. So inmate is another word for a prisoner. It's a person who is kept in a prison or in a mental hospital, usually. But these days, I don't think they call mental hospital patients inmates. They just call them patients. So it's just prisoners.
OK, 所以呢 isolated 这个形容词代表的是被隔离的、被分离的。They were kept isolated， 也就是他们是被隔离的。被跟谁隔离呢 ？Inmate 这个名词代表的是监狱啦，或是精神病院等等机构的收容者。所以这边在讲的就是呢，这些罪行重大、危险的囚犯，他们和其他的收容者是被隔离开来的。
So we asked what Royale Island and San Joseph Island are for. Now we learn what Devil's Island was for. Devil's Island was reserved for political prisoners. So if it's reserved for them, that reserve is a verb that means to keep something for a special use or to keep it for only a certain person or only a certain group of people. So like if you make a reservation, you reserve a table at a restaurant, you're basically calling them and saying, keep this table just for me. So an example sentence for reserve. I'm sorry, but this part of the palace is reserved for only the queen's guests. We can't go in here.
Reserve 这个动词呢，代表的是保留，所以呢，我们可以 reserve a table， 也就是打电话到餐厅去订位，或者是 reserve a room， 打电话到 hotel 饭店里面去预订房间。那名词形式呢是 reservation。所以你可以 make a reservation， 也就是做定位订房的动作。那这边呢，我们看到 reserve A for B， 那就是把 A 留给 B。课文当中呢，用被动，恶魔岛是被留给 political prisoners。他们是谁呢？
All right, so we learned they are prisoners, they are inmates, and political prisoners.And they're on Devil's Island.
Right, so what does the word political mean?
Political is an adjective that means talking about the government. Usually when you're talking about something that is political, it means, maybe it's the president or the lawmakers, they're talking about something. Or if people are talking about something about the government or about the law or about society, you might say those are political topics. And sometimes they're not good to bring up at dinner, something like that. But if you're talking about a political prisoner, it means there's somebody who has been accused of acting against the government. So maybe in French Guiana, there were some people who were like, I'm not happy that France still owns us. I'm going to protest. But that might have been a crime at one time. And, in some places in the world, it's still a crime to protest. So you can go to prison for political crimes. So, for example, the man who protested against the new law was accused of political crimes and sent to jail.
OK, 所以 political prisoners 指的就是政治犯。那政治学我们说的是 politics.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
OK, 名词 politics.
So, yeah, they got treated very harshly. You can tell by the name Devil's Island, it's kind of, they didn't get a good shift.
所以在这边关的不是 the most dangerous prisoners, 不是，这边是 political prisoners.
Yeah, because I think the country considers them more dangerous to the country, but dangerous criminals are dangerous to individual people.
Right.
So maybe the country is thinking like, well, we got to keep these people really, really locked up. It says here, prisoners were allowed no human contact at all. That sounds horrible.
OK, 所以这边呢，用到一个被动是 were allowed， 后面接下来的内容 were allowed 代表是被允许，可是这边接的是 no human contact， 代表呢这边的囚犯们不能有任何人与人之间的接触 no human contact.
So nobody talked to them, nobody saw them, they were just alone all the time. So, yeah, the article says thousands of people died on these islands before the prisons were closed in the 1950s. So these are old prisons. Means, maybe their conditions were really, really not good.
So it means that they are not prisons anymore.
No, they are not. Now
Okay.
they're tourist spots.
Right. 所以呢，1950年代中期，这个监狱们呢就被关起来了。那在那之前，有数以千计的人死在这个岛上。
So now you can go visit them yourself. You can see what they were like. Tourists can now visit 2 of these former prisons by boat. The boat leaves the mainland every morning. Okay, so we got this word, the mainland, or mainland. So when you're talking about the mainland, usually it's about a country that has part of it on a continent, and then part of it is islands. So the mainland here is the part of French Guiana that is on South America. It's on a bigger piece of land. We also talk about the US mainland. That's all states except Hawaii. So if you want to get off the mainland, you go to Hawaii. So French Guiana's mainland is South America.
OK， 所以呢，这边在讲的就是The mainland 指的是大陆本土。那课文说呢，观光客现在可以用搭船的方式造访2个前身为监狱的地方，每天早上都有船从本岛离开。
So they said we can go to 2 of 3 islands.
What about Devil's Island?
It's not one of them. It says,
So
however,
you can visit the island.
You cannot. However, access to Devil's Island is not allowed due to the dangerous sea conditions around it. Or maybe it's because they still keep people there. Do you
But
think so?
isn't it closed?
Well, they say that. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. But access, when you're talking about access to a place, it means kind of a way of getting near or to something. So if you have access to somewhere, it means you can get in, you can go there. If you don't have access, if your access is denied, that means you can't go there. And it's due to the dangerous sea conditions. Probably there's a lot of storms, there's a lot of rocks, things like that. Due to means because of.
Access 这边当名词用，代表接近或是通道。Access to something 那就是接近某处，往某处的通道。所以课文这边说然而呢，因为危险的海况，所以现在人们还是无法到恶魔岛去。那我们看到的 due to 代表的是由于、因为，它也是一个介系词片语哦。所以后面只能加名词或 VING。那如果你想要加子句的时候怎么办？没有关系，你可以加上due to the fact that 再加上子句，所以我们可以说 due to the fact that Taiwan is located in the ring of fire, it's frequently struck by earthquakes. 那就代表因为台湾位于火环带上，所以时常会有地震发生。
Okay, so you can't go to Devil's Island, I guess, because the sea is bad. Not because there are still people there, right?
Okay, so you were wrong about that.
I'm just joking anyway.
I know.
But anyway, the 2 islands you can go to are Royale and St. Joseph Island. Royale Island is the largest of the islands, and many of the old buildings can be seen there.
OK， 所以这边讲到皇家岛，它是3个岛中最大的，在那边你可以看到许多古老的建筑物。
Sounds really cool. There's also the prison director's house, which has been turned into a hotel.
OK， 所以呢，那边本来是监狱，所以也有典狱长的家。不过呢，现在已经被改建为饭店了。So when you visit the place, you can stay there.
Yeah, exactly. Would you feel comfortable staying at the old prison director's house?
I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd think about it. But anyway, that's all we've got about these 3 islands. They're another dark tourism location that you can find a lot of interesting history about if you go there. So that means that it's the end of our article. We've done 3 days about dark tourism. We hope you've enjoyed it. Let's go to our For You chat.
For You chat.
Okay, so today's For You chat question is, do you think it is fair to keep dangerous prisoners in prisons like these? Explain your answer. Do you think it's fair to do this?
Well, I think, it's not fair to deny people all human contact. I think that's cruel. But, yeah, I think it's not good to keep people in dangerous any place. Like, even if you are in prison, you still have a right to not be hurt and not, go crazy, right?
Okay, but I think they were kept there was because maybe the government or the people then wanted them to be isolated from the others.
Oh, so
that
mean,
they
just
wouldn't
be
hurt
alone from
the others
everyone.
again.
I guess so. I mean, I think, putting a prison on an island is an idea that will make it harder for them to escape. And I think that's true. I mean, prisons have changed a lot from that time to now. So you can talk all day about how good it is, how good prisons are, that sort of thing. It's a very complicated answer. An answer which you guys can probably discuss on your own with your classmates. You guys might have very different thoughts about this. And you might have very different thoughts about dark tourism. So feel free to discuss together. And that's all the time we have. So we will see you next time. For you, I'm Kat.
I'm Elsie.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Tropical. Because this is a tropical island, it often rains here and it's very hot. Devil. Johnny couldn't sleep because he thought he saw a man who looked like a devil. It even had horns and a tail. Prison. The thief was caught stealing a car and was sent to prison for 2 years. Criminal. My job is to help criminals find a job when they get out of jail. Reserve. Sorry, this seat has been reserved for someone, so you can't sit here. Political. Martin has very strong political ideas, which sometimes causes him to have fights with his family.
智慧小补帖
Isolated. Inmate. The Mainland. Access.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net